Today on Locked On Rockies, 2 weeks till the trade deadline. Are we confident in the Colorado Rockies to get deals done?
You are Locked On Rockies, your daily Colorado Rockies podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Rock on Rockies fans, welcome into the Locked On Rockies podcast for today, the 18th day of July in the year 2024. I'm your host, Colorado Rockies fan, Paul Holden. So I was just typing Colorado Rockies into the old Google machine there to help give me one more thing for that. Man, the intros to the show, you never know what I might do this week, as we've been messing up years and all sorts of stuff, but always having fun here on your number one spot for daily Colorado Rockies talk. That is, of course, Locked On Rockies. We are free and streaming on your favorite streaming services and on the Locked On Rockies YouTube channel, where you can be part of the show by subscribing, liking the videos, leaving your comments, letting me know what's on your mind, firing off your Rockies hot takes in the comment section. When you like the show, when you subscribe to the videos, when you leave reviews, when you help out the show, it really does mean a lot. So thank you all so much for doing that. And I especially thank you for making us your first listen of the day. We're going to talk Rockies getting deals done. We're going to talk about second half performances we want to see. And I just want, if we have the time, I want to get to the All-Star Game uniforms specifically. But before we dive into everything today, this episode of Locked On Rockies is brought to you by Booking.com. The right stay can make you a fan of any city, even your rivals. Check out Booking.com for your stay today. So I have been sitting here and I have been wondering a little bit. And I've been wondering yes, I believe the Rockies are going to make deals. Yes, I believe the Rockies will make trades. But even with the talent and with the people specifically that the Rockies have, how much can the Rockies really expect to bring in? How much can the Rockies really expect to haul in? It's not like you're the White Sox, right, where you have a couple of options in which you can get top level prospects. Because like we discussed yesterday, it seems that Ryan McMahon is not going anywhere. Of course, you know, with this time of year, I should say, you never really know until it's over, right? You never really know until the trade deadline is done. That could be just some smoke, but with the Rockies, I highly doubt it. The super loyal team doing that to a basically the face of the franchise right now would be shocking, I think. But opening the door for the rest and opening the door for the, like, I think, you know, in reality, it's one I've talked about a lot. It's the Brendan Rodgers trade. And of course, we like watching Brendan Rodgers. It is fun watching Brendan Rodgers play baseball for the Colorado Rockies. But again, it's just a matter of, I had fun watching Trevor Story play for the Colorado Rockies. And while the Rockies did get a pick back, I do think the best opportunities and the best moves would be to try to get in as many prospects as possible just to see what happens. Because, you know, they're not all going to shake out. You know, things are going to happen. And I also think the Rockies during this trade deadline, it can't just be trade for pitchers the whole time. Unless if that's really when you're making the deals and when you're getting them done, that the best prospects that you can get are, if they're all pitchers, really that's not a bad thing. But as we saw in the draft, which hopefully we are going to be doing some draft recap tomorrow, trying to confirm schedules and things like that. So, but my point is, I do worry. I do worry about the abundant focus on pitching, like we've talked about. But when it comes down to it, if the Rockies make some deals, which they will, the Rockies, I think themselves know that they can't go through this deadline with the same members on the roster. You got to at least see what happens, because when the reality sets in of just will these guys re-sign? I just don't think that the answer is yes. Unless the Rockies get aggressive with Brendan Rodgers and offer a bunch of money and time, I don't think Brendan Rodgers is going to sign an extension with the Rockies, especially when you're thinking about the pipeline and you're thinking about the next big thing for the Rockies is a second baseman. And Brendan Rodgers has had a career in which, that had a lot higher ceiling that he hasn't hit, and the health has gotten in the way, but we know the ability is there, especially when he heats up after the first couple months of the season. But Brendan Rodgers, to me, seems like a prime, I need a new place guy. I'm looking for a new location. I'm looking to go help a team win. I'm looking to do something new, to take on a different role or a different approach or a different philosophy. And not from anything he said, but I just think from his career with the Rockies, I just don't think there's much for Brendan Rodgers to hold on to here during his Rockies tenure to be really romantic about the place and really want to stay and continue on with this team, especially when you factor in the state of the team. And when you factor in the fact that when Brendan Rodgers has primarily played, the Rockies have stunk. So in my eyes, as you're approaching and going through and dealing with this Brendan Rodgers situation, and again, I am just guessing here, totally guessing here, and just from what I would perceive to be his experience, I don't think that you're going to keep Brendan Rodgers past the contract, past what you have him now. And I don't necessarily think the Rockies are going to go out there and sign him to an extension of considerable length when Amador literally played this year. I mean, there could be a situation in which the Rockies, just like they did with Tovar, it's Amador, you're in. Boom. I don't think Amador necessarily has shown as much as the of the early preparedness that Ezequiel Tovar did. And Ezequiel Tovar is certainly a rare case. But that's when I think of the Brendan Rodgers trade situation, that's the type of stuff I start thinking about. And so I really do think that if he comes out and he just scorches for the next 2 weeks, there are teams that have especially when you're looking at adding pitching, that have prospect pitching depth, that Brendan Rodgers will help their teams immediately. It's just a matter of will the Rockies make that move. And I mean, especially the Rockies with no Alan Trejo and but they got Shunk now who can bounce around and do all sorts of stuff. So they can fill second base for the rest of the season. It's not like it's going to be the big deal breaker anyway when the season comes through. But that's there's not been a lot of buzz. Like whenever I look around and when I look through Rockies trade rumors, it's you basically just get the Ryan McMahon saying he's staying put, and the rest of that there's no real smoke other than Cal Quantrill. Cal Quantrill keeps getting linked in a bunch of trade rumor pieces. So I mean it could very well be that Cal Quantrill's on the way out, because another guy, when you're really thinking about the approach here at the deadline with Quantrill, is it worth it to hold on to Quantrill to finish this season out, get half a season of him, and then trade him at the deadline next year? Or do you just do what you do now with German Marquez back and with the Rockies getting a little, getting the two of their main pitchers back, and sends a, knocking on the door for at least a little bit of this season, maybe in September, and to close out things there in the final month. I think that's really something that's a very interesting thing as you're thinking about the mind of a GM or just really how things work, is deciding and figuring out where is the most value, what is the best deal really for the Rockies to do. What is it better for the Rockies over the rest of this season and into next year to hang on to Cal Quantrill? Are the Rockies going to do stuff to be a team that can kind of build around and beef up a Cal Quantrill and feel a little more confident in this rotation and think that they're going to be a little bit better next year? Because unfortunately, I haven't seen enough so far this year where it's like, I think the Rockies, because we were talking about the early timelines and comparing the Rockies to other teams that had bad seasons. I don't think the Rockies are going to immediately flip the script and do a bunch of stuff that makes them a contender like the Rangers or the Diamondbacks did next year. So I guess because you got to think that a little bit as well. Is Cal Quantrill going to factor into that team? Are you thinking that way as the Rockies? Are you already, getting to that point? I don't know. It just gets kind of murky with the Rockies, where we got to figure out what they believe is going to put them in the best position. And I think trading the guys that you're confident aren't going to re-sign or extend, and that and a guy like Elias Diaz that might have a lot of popularity, where you have the other positions pretty full, and you need to continue to get Hunter Goodman into the game. I think that you got to make these. You got to make the moves. I just sit here, and my confidence level, not only in getting the deals done because of the Rockies and their stuff, it's just how does the rest of Major League Baseball view these Rockies players? How does the rest of Major League Baseball evaluate this Rockies talent? How does the rest of Major League Baseball engage in trade talks with the Rockies? That's kind of the stuff that when I think about these things, I get murky about, or I get a little, you kind of get a little what ify and wishy-washy about, because with the Rockies' reputation in the league being so bad, and really more often than not, the Rockies not being super active at the trade deadline. I know last year is an exception, but think about the history of the team. I just, again, this is another trade deadline that can have big impacts for the Colorado Rockies, and I just don't feel overly confident in one result over another or something actually happening for the Rockies. But I do feel confident in them making at least a couple moves. All right, let's talk about second half performances. Let's talk about players we want to see more from in the second half of the season. And we will do that coming up in segment number 2 of today's episode of Locked on Rockies. Before we do that, though, got to tell you about the folks that help make this show possible, and that includes eBay Motors. Passion, drive, and patience. The formula for winning championships is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. Superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time, or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home huge wins. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit is only available to U.S. customers. We are also brought to you by the folks at Game Time. Game Time's got you covered when you need last-minute tickets to really just about anything. But Game Time's also an authorized ticket marketplace of Major League Baseball, which makes getting tickets faster and easier. Prices on the Game Time app actually go down the closer it gets to first pitch. With killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and their lowest price guaranteed, Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets. And when you fire up the Game Time app, you can click the little button up the top that says all-in pricing, so you know exactly what you're paying. Everything, all included, no surprises. Right there, this is the cost. And like we said, you're going to get that image of your seat as well, so you're going to know exactly where you are sitting. One of my favorite parts of Game Time, that seat view image. Take the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. This is the Locked On Rockies podcast. We are free and streaming on your favorite streaming services, bringing you your daily Colorado Rockies talk right here on the Locked On Podcast Network, where you can find your team every day. You can also find the Locked On Sports Today 24/7 streaming show, and that's on YouTube and the Amazon Fire TV app. You can also get all your Rockies play-by-play action all season long on SiriusXM and the SiriusXM app. All right, folks. So we just talked about the trade deadline coming up here for the Rockies and confidence in them getting deals done. So what about our confidence in the Rockies roster to get the job done and bounce back and to perform and to avoid 100 losses. The Rockies have to go to avoid 100 losses. They can only lose 37 more times this season. And I believe I just saw a ranking system, basically a power rankings of strength of schedule remaining for the rest of the year. And the Rockies, I believe, were in the top 5. So, well, it's interesting, right? Hardest strength of schedule, and the Rockies have played their best ball against the better teams in baseball this year. So we'll see how that builds. We'll see how that stacks up throughout the second half of the season. But let's zoom in here. And I want to kind of just start with, I want to see all the young Rockies players take steps forward in offense and across the board. I because the thing that is a little bit depressing to me about the Rockies, and this counts qualified batters. And so remember, some of these players, these batting averages are totally skewed. So I'm going to do my best to skip the really low ones here. But right now, for the Colorado Rockies, nearly more than half of the players that have played for the Rockies this year are batting 200 or below. Now, a good chunk of these players are also not continuously playing for the Rockies, injured, but there's 2 notable ones here to look at as we go through the season, and a couple of other interesting names that pop up here and there as well. But the Rockies currently have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 players that are batting under 200 right now. Take out Greg Jones, who's only had 5 at-bats. You can take out Aaron Schunk, who's only had 14 at-bats. Alan Trejo's not on the team anymore. And Amador, obviously, the cup of coffee. So there are some examples, but Hunter Goodman right now, 126 at-bats. And right now, his batting line is 175, 209, 397, 606. Again, so prime example. I'm looking for a step forward here. I'm looking for a better second half. I'm looking for these numbers to improve. And I'm looking for, also when you're looking at the numbers here, when you're looking at Hunter Goodman, 39 strikeouts to only 4 walks. So I'd like, again, and this goes for a lot of the young guys. I think this will be a typical theme. I want to see the walks up. I want to see the strikeouts down. I want to see the strikeouts down for everybody on the Rockies, but especially with these younger guys as they continue to take at-bats and get things going. 21 RBI, though, in that time is good for Goodman. We know that he's got a little bit of pop. He's got 7 doubles in that time. He's hit 7 home runs. So there's definitely that intrigue there. So I'm looking to see those numbers go up, and I'm hoping to see those numbers go up as well. Chris Bryant, I just want to hopefully see maybe even on the field, but not actually playing defense. Chris Bryant simply cannot be playing defense for the rest of the season, or maybe even really ever. Again, for the Rockies, I mean, Chris Bryant, 186, 307, 279 with an OPS of 586. So only 86 at-bats this year, so a factor certainly. 24 games played. Jordan Beck, 79 at-bats so far. Again, a very similar situation where I'm looking at the batting line and it's weak, and I just that's really what I want to see is these young guys, Bouchard, and then let's talk about those guys, Bouchard, Beck, Goodman. I'm just looking to see second halves where we're taking steps forward. We're going in the right direction. We're having solid months and solid stretches where, the overall season average might still be a little meh, but let's take a look at the last 15 games. Let's take a look at the last couple of weeks. Let's look at those sample sizes to see how those guys are performing and see what they're doing to get better on offense. I don't know how long. I don't know if we're going to see with Beck with the injuries and things like that. So we'll see how he is going to be. Let's see. 11 days ago, flying back to Arizona on Sunday to begin baseball. So that was about 11 days ago was the last update on ESPN there. So never mind. We'll probably see some Beck as well. But my point is with those guys that have these really tough batting averages with 2 exceptions. I'd really like to see, it doesn't have to be monumental steps forward, just progress, just better looking at bats, more comfortable at the major league level on offense, more comfortable up there against major league pitching. And that's going to come with time. That's going to come with the Rockies giving them opportunities. My biggest things that I'd like to see here as we go through for players that I do want to see actually take big steps forward when we're looking at these sub 200 batting average players, Michael Toglia and Nolan Jones need to be better ball players for the Rockies. Toglia is heating up and getting in a groove and hitting the long ball, so we're loving what we're seeing in that. He was starting to, what we saw going into the All-Star break is what we want to see. I know he's not going to be hitting 3 home run games all the time, but just a Michael Toglia that's bringing the power, bringing the thump, driving in some runs, and really increasing what he can do. Again, big thing I'd love to see with those guys is the strikeouts being better. But I mean, again, every time I say that, I gotta like relook at it and reevaluate the fact that it's not just a these guys problem. It is a it is a Rockies problem in general. And again, I'd like to see Sam Hilliard continue to get opportunities and continue to work as well, because in his limited opportunities so far this year, 24 at bats, he's batting 292, 370 OBP, a slugging of 583, an OPS of 954. He's got he's hit 2 home runs, driven in 3, some stolen bases, some singles. So good to see there as well. And I would just want to see the veterans for the Rockies continue to take strides, continue to be who they are, and build the confidence in them, in those players, in the McMahons, in the Tovars, that we can really sit there and get more excited for things to come with this team. And then Brenton Doyle, just keep doing what you're doing. In reality, you keep doing what you're doing. And for Charlie Blackmon, the strikeouts are my big concern with Chuck. And for him this year, he's certainly not the worst offender on the Rockies, but he has been striking out a little bit more this year than we're used to. But I mean, the guy still has hit 19 doubles, 3 triples, and 6 home runs. So he still certainly is effective in his roles. But it's going to be interesting to see what the usage is like. We're really just hoping in the second half that, I mean, there's really not a single person on the Rockies offense that really shouldn't be prepared to do or not be prepared, but we're not hoping to take steps forward. And then, of course, really, it's plain and simple. Everybody in the bullpen, outside of Victor Vodnik, keep doing what you're doing and maybe get some rest. But 2 players, if the Rockies are going to have a nice stretch in the second half against good teams, it is going to come down to 2 names, really big names that it's going to come down to in that situation is Justin Lawrence and Tyler Kinley. Those 2 guys, the Rockies need to be able to count on in the second half of the season, because they got to figure out what the future looks like for those 2 arms as well. So, in reality, yeah, we're hoping for a lot for the Rockies. At the end of the day, I just want to see better ball. I just want to see what looks like growth on the field. I just want to see a Rockies team that shows us the flashes, which we've seen at times. The Rockies team that beats the good teams. The Rockies team that plays up to that level instead of the team that's played to the low levels that we've seen at some points this season. All right. Before we wrap up the show, I just kind of want to give one last thoughts on the All-Star Game and the All-Star Game uniforms. We'll do that coming up in segment number 3 of today's episode of Locked On Rockies. Before we do that, though, got to tell you about the folks that help make this show possible, and that includes Booking.com. Yeah, with summer travel heating up, especially travel for baseball games, it's time to explore those U.S. cities you've always secretly wanted to learn more about. Yes, we're talking about your rival city. Use baseball season as the perfect excuse to plan your baseball road trip or cross-country trip, or just a reason to go see somewhere new. I've done the baseball trips a couple of times, and they are awesome. It's super fun to be able to travel. Me and my dad did it. We did, I think, 6 ballparks in 7 days. And Booking.com is going to help you do stuff like that with hotels, bed and breakfast, vacation rentals, resorts, and so much more on Booking.com. You might just find your perfect stay. From hotels that overlook stadiums to family-friendly resorts, Booking.com has so many choices across the USA for your summer travels this MLB season. The right state can make you a fan of any U.S. city. Yes, that even means LA, Phoenix, San Francisco, and San Diego. Book today on Booking.com, on the site, or in the Booking.com app. We're also brought to you by PrizePicks. PrizePicks is America's #1 daily fantasy sports app with over 5 million active members. PrizePicks is the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Unlike other apps on PrizePicks, it's just you against the numbers. All you do is pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections and watch the winnings roll in. Get in on all the daily action with your friends and become part of the PrizePicks community today. That 5 million active members community. Remember, this is you being able to pick the players you want and make your lineup your way. No one's going to snag the player that you want to pick out from under you. It is you against the numbers, and you can win up to 100 times your money on PrizePicks with as little as 4 correct picks. You can turn $10 into $1,000, and PrizePicks is available in more than 30 states across the country, including California, Texas, and Georgia. Download the PrizePicks app today and use code LOCKEDONMLB for a first deposit match up to $100. That's code LOCKEDONMLB on PrizePicks for a deposit match up to $100. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy. This is the Locked On Rockies podcast for free and streaming on your favorite streaming services, bringing you your daily Colorado Rockies talk right here on the Locked On Rockies YouTube channel and the Locked On Rockies podcast feeds. Thank you so much for tuning in, making it your first listen of the day. Go check out Locked On Sports Today 24/7 streaming channel if you need more sports coverage around the wide world of sports. And of course, Rockies play-by-play action available to you in your earbuds all season long on SiriusXM and the SiriusXM app. All right, I just wanted to close out by saying we were glowing about the All-Star game yesterday. We were talking about the good things, but the uniform thing needs to stop. The uniform change, experiment, whatever. I mean, with the All-Star game mixed with the issues with the normal uniforms. Enough is enough. Like, and there are so many opportunities where you can do those cool jerseys still and have them do what was the coolest part of the All-Star. One of the coolest parts. It's way cooler when everyone is out there in their own uniforms. It's so much cooler when it's all the different uniforms on all the different teams, because then it's way more identifiable for you to be like, hey, there's Ryan McMahon. Because if the broadcast didn't tell you that Ryan McMahon got subbed in to play second base, you would have never probably, it would have taken you a second to know that Ryan McMahon was playing second base. Why was Ryan McMahon playing second base? It's the All-Star game type of deal, So the point is, yes, I understand what the point of the jersey is. They want to sell it to you. They want you to buy another new jersey for you to get it with your favorite player's name on it or your team's name on it, and yada, 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 yada. I still think the All-Star game versions of the normal jerseys that you could still sell are cooler. You could have the cool jerseys and have them be the things that they wear during the home run derby, which they have done in the past multiple times before. Or you just if you fully embrace it and just do special caps and accessories, and you let it just be, and special lettering on the jerseys that are what you want to show off anyway. Baseball has cool jerseys, and it'd be, especially it's like, or do a special City Connect or like a spin on that. I mean, there are so many cool things that you could do while embracing the actual jerseys that people have versus, let's be honest, have you, in the past 3 seasons, or really since they've been doing the team uniforms, have you seen one that's like, whoa, that is cool? That's the coolest. The hats for this year grew on me, and hats are a different story. If you want to do a special All-Star game hat, well, I'm pretty sure that's how it used to go anyway. That makes sense. That's totally cool. But it's really cool to see the different uniforms all on the field, especially in baseball, because there's so many of them. In basketball and football, you kind of need to keep those uniforms so you remember who's on your team, type of deal where that helps. But in baseball, I mean, there are those old pictures, there are that stuff. It's a silly little thing, I know, but it is a tweak that I just think, I just, with all these uniform type changes, it's just like, man, baseball just hasn't lived up with these new uniform changes to making things cool and hip and a new era of cool jerseys, like we've seen in minor league ball, especially, and in other sports leagues as well. So That's just a small thing. I just think that the game, I just think it would be a little bit more cool to go back to the uniforms. And I know I'm not alone in that take there. So it's just a random little thought. But All-Star game, rear view mirror, All-Star game done. It's all about how the Rockies handle the second half of the season and how they handle the trade deadline. Going to be an interesting 2 weeks of Rockies baseball, and we'll be breaking it all down right here on Locked On Rockies. So make sure that you're subscribed to that YouTube channel so you know exactly where to go. And folks, thank you so much for making us your first listen of the day, because that's going to do it for today's episode of Locked On Rockies. Make sure that you find us on your favorite streaming service. Make sure you find us on that Locked On Rockies YouTube channel, where your 5-star reviews, your subscriptions, your likings of the videos, your comments all help the show grow. Folks, for your second listen of the day, go check out Locked On MLB. If you need more baseball coverage, if you need more Colorado coverage, Locked On Broncos, Locked On Avalanche, Locked On Nuggets, and Locked On Buffs, free and streaming on your favorite streaming services. Go check those out. Folks, hopefully tomorrow we will be talking draft. I don't want to confirm until I know for sure, but if not, we will be previewing the Giants series. But I want to talk a draft, get a little recap there with the folks that know drafting. Until next time, this is Paul Holden saying so long from the Locked On Rockies podcast.